U.S. intelligence agency mind control.
This is such a good video. This whole video, I watched this and I was like, oh my God, we have so much to contribute to this commentary.
Okay. Hold on. Oh no. Oh no, I put 2 breakthrough newses. Oh no.
New York City after appealing his defamation verdict against a woman a jury determined he had assaulted. He's still talking about this?
And yesterday they're bringing up Russia again, that they've done for years. Never found anything. But they should be looking at China. Iran, and lots of other places.
I really feel like, if anything, we understate the extent to which he's mentally cooked. You know what I mean? He's a little bit more energetic than Biden, but in terms of his ability to string a sentence together, it's actually quite a bit worse than Biden's in many cases. He just has energy. He still has energy that he projects into the sentence that makes no sense.
I haven't spoken to anybody from Russia in years. They know that, but it's a scam. But it all goes back.
Trump claims he never met Jean Carroll, despite there being a photograph of them together.
Of a ridiculous verdict of a woman I have never met. I don't know. I have no idea who she is. She wrote a book and she made
hold on. And in what context is he bringing this up again? Is this because the ruling or the sentencing was deferred from that case? Okay, the most recent headline that I see is Trump's New York hush money sentencing delayed until after the November election because, you know, we live in a 2-tier justice system. But this is about the hush money payments, not about Jean Carroll. He's just bringing up out of nowhere for no reason. Like there's no news that's prompting this. He just decided to talk about him being a convicted. Okay, for fun.
That's amazing.
Ridiculous story up. She put it in her book, and we're now appealing the decision. We had an extremely hostile judge appointed by.
He was in court today for an appeal of that verdict. Okay, there we go.
By Clinton, very good friends of Clinton. I guess he presided over the marriage ceremony of one of the lawyers on the case against us.
Yeah, that's true. Trump was more associated with the Clintons than
they had 2 witnesses. And before I start, I have no idea who this woman is. They have a picture from, they say, about 40 years ago.
It's so cool how this country is so cooked that we are up for a nail biter of an election when one of the 2 candidates is politically competent and running an energized campaign, and the other 2 is genuinely a file rapist card with no values, who can't string a sentence together, and who drips with contempt for life every time he talks. It's genuinely remarkable that this is the nail biter that we get. You know? Love this country. Don't forget fascist. No, I left fascist out for a reason. There are lots of people who are ideologically fascist.
Yeah, what's funny about that is that he's like,
but like in terms of
the whole thing is it's like, she's not my type. I wouldn't even are her, right? That was his whole defense. And then he gets the picture and he's like, that's my ex-wife. And it's like, oh, okay.
Messaging. Trump is infinitely less competent politically than people like Le Pen or Meloni or even the AfD. All groups that are less obviously
Why is he trying to say it with
Trump
an accent?
And the GOP is,
but then said it both with the same accent.
Like
neither French nor
remarkable.
Italian accent.
It's very strange.
A picture, and the picture depicts her and her husband on a celebrity line where I was the celebrity. I was been a celebrity for a long time, and they were shaking my hands along with hundreds of other people. Nobody even knows where it is. The problem is she doesn't know the date of this incident. She doesn't know when. She doesn't know, was it in the 90s? Could it have been further than that?
Please don't put Meloni in this. I hate her so much. Does she talk like this? No. No, this is crazy. It's insane. Like, he can't talk. No one understands what he's saying.
There's no idea when.
Never have.
And people do that because you don't want to give a specific date, and then you find out that Trump or whoever it was in Europe.
But
So they tend to do that.
She understands it
take
perfectly.
long periods so that this way, hopefully he was in New York.
Does anyone even know what he's talking about? I understand the general subject, okay? You don't need to patronize me. But the actual sentence structure doesn't make any sense. Okay, you want to see rambling? We'll do the bit. Look at this. Behold. Get ready. Okay? Trump was, what was this, a New York City business conference? It's a whole damn thing. Look at this. Please listen to him, okay? People have been writing down transcripts of this.
Mr. President, we don't have the fruit. We don't have the fruit. Are you ready? This is the part. This is the part where we have to react.
Okay.
Let me thank you for your presentation today. President Trump,
okay,
in the last fiscal year...
I'll just tell you right now, you can pause as needed because you're going to have to interject because you're going to translate what Trump is saying. Because I perfectly understood everything that he said.
Okay. That's the game we're playing?
Yeah. You can, whenever you need a pause to say what Trump is saying.
Here, the fiscal deficit under the Biden administration was approximately $2 trillion.
Okay, pause.
Under the
policy. So the question, the fiscal deficit under Biden admin is $2 trillion. That was the setup. Now the question is, let it roll. We didn't hear it yet.
Policies you've announced, the deficit would come down from items such as increased revenues from tariffs, as well as eliminating the tax incentives for the Green New Deal.
So the question is, Biden deficits tax deficits are certainly bad. They reach this number, but your policies are dumb. How are they going to address that? Pretty simple question.
Yes.
And we're experts at listening to Trump and understanding his policies at this point.
This is true.
We can probably name more good Trump policies than most Trump supporters.
That's true.
These gains would be mitigated by decreases in revenues from policies such as no tax on tips. Overall, what do you estimate will be the impact of the fiscal deficit from your policies?
Well, we just hit record highs at...
Okay. Everyone get ready for this.
I'm ready.
And just try to follow along.
We just hit record highs at numbers that nobody ever thought possible. You're right, it's over $2 trillion. Nobody thought that was a number that was... I mean, you can go back 4 years. Nobody thought a number like that would be possible. It's crazy. It's like... It's just horrible, actually. But yeah, we're $2 trillion, and I view it as profit and loss to a certain extent. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's trade." You know, you have many people say trade deficits don't matter. I think they matter a lot. We're going to have tremendous growth. What I'm talking about is all about growth. The tax is relatively minor compared to the growth. We're going to make our money back on growth. We're going to also, we're going to grow like nobody's ever grown before. I think if this all works out, you're going to have the auto industry come back to America. Right now, China is building 2 auto factories in Mexico.
Now, before we get into this, what did he just say? Did we follow along?
To be honest, no.
Because you went on another tab, didn't you, instead of watching the video?
I did, yes.
Okay.
Don't matter. I think they matter a lot. Straight. You know, you have many people, $2 trillion, and I view it as profit and loss to a certain extent. A lot of people say
it's being retarded.
Oh my God.
You shouldn't have went on the other tab. This is what you get.
Jesus fucking Christ.
This is what you get for being a bad boy.
trade deficits don't matter. I think they matter.
You have to refresh, I think. No, maybe not.
We're going to have tremendous growth. What I'm talking about is all about growth. The tax is relatively minor compared to.
I'm so sick of this.
I mean, I'm sure he'll be fine once he's back home. It's because he's using a laptop while he's house sitting. All right, here we go.
Trillion, and I view it as profit and loss to a certain extent. A lot of people say, oh, it's trade. You know, you have many people say trade deficits don't matter. I think they matter a lot. We're going to have tremendous growth. What I'm talking about is all about growth. The tax is relatively minor compared to the growth. We're going to make our money back on growth. We're going to also, we're going to grow like nobody's ever grown before. I think if this all works out, you're going to have the auto industry come back to America. Right now, China is building
stop, because
factories.
we're about to get onto a new tangent. Okay, so we missed a little bit of the beginning, but that section you just heard. Okay, can you translate that? Did that all make sense to you? Made perfect sense to me. The question was literally about the deficit and how his tax policy would affect it.
Yeah.
He's on point. He's saying that the money will lose in taxes is like nothing compared to the growth we'll have from the policy. Which makes no sense. But I understand completely what he's saying.
I mean,
we'll be spending so much money, we'll make money.
I mean, I don't think he realizes that he can't just like bankrupt and dissolve his country and go to another one. I think having this kind of mentality in charge of a country is probably not a good thing.
All right.
That'll be fine. We'll just write it off on bankruptcy. Start another company.
Now the next part, because he just started talking about auto working, right? Because obviously he's triggered by the auto workers right now.
Yes. Yes, he is. It is quite funny.
And now he's going to talk about the Chinese EVs.
The Chinese EVs. I can't wait for his take.
Massive auto factory.
This is a point that I've seen discussed a bit lately, and I think it's worth reiterating, even though it puts me a little bit closer to a resist lib than I would like to be. I think that there has been widespread media malpractice in that people have not discussed enough how mentally cooked Donald Trump is. It's not just him being idiosyncratic. It's not just him being funny or playing to the crowd. I get all those things. I don't fault Donald Trump. I'm not stupid enough to think that Donald Trump being frivolous or facetious are him being mentally cooked. I understand that he has a certain communication style that when he's in his element can be quite captivating. This is not just that. He genuinely has no idea what he's saying, and it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, sane washing.
No.
In a way, like they try to like.
It makes perfect sense. I'm following completely what he's saying. I watched Trump enough to know exactly what he's saying. He's saying that the policy that he's putting in place, well, people have said, hey, this is going to make the deficit worse. He's saying, no, actually, it's going to make us rich because we're going to bring, because we won't import anything, we'll have to make it ourselves. No, how we transition to just suddenly overnight pick up that supply chain or anything like that. Nothing about that.
None of that matters.
But nothing. But go on. Let's hear his Mexico stuff.
Pan over it, or they describe this as like a confused answer. This is a sundowning answer.
I disagree.
This is mental incompetence. It's not just a presentational
I know exactly
style. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Unlike an information.
He does. I'm straight with him so far.
Level, he doesn't know what he's talking about, and on a delivery level, he can't hold a sentence together.
No, here's the issue.
There's actually a clip worse than this, the childcare one.
The policy
we'll look
is
at that
stupid.
After.
He's well aware the policy is stupid. He's just saying shit that his voters are going to blindly back. Like, yeah, his policy is this. It's going to be great. You know, they don't have any analysis. They're not going to fucking put this policy in place, bro. It's literally just bullshit where he's like, I'm going to be great on the economy because they're focusing in on the economy standpoint. It's literally like people will be like, I think Trump's going to be better for the economy on and immigration. He was bad on both, actually, way worse. So keep thinking that. But that's what they run on, right? So he's so focused on like presenting him as like knowing what the economy is, but his are fucking retarded. Okay?
Yeah.
People are retarded.
And they think they're going to make their cars in Mexico and send them back into the United States with no tax. It's not going to happen. Under this administration, it's going to happen. And they wanted to do that during my administration. I said, if you do it, we're going to put a 200% tariff on every car, and you'll never be able to see it. There will never be one car coming across our border. And if I would have let them do it.
So we
say 200% tariff.
Well, so we remember when we covered this, how after Biden's tariff on these cars was put in place, they went to Mexico to open up these plants, and then the admin actually took immediate action as well to prevent those cars from being imported with like the Mexican, like, because we have a lot of auto deals with Mexico, right? Yeah. So you remember covering that, right? So you're fully aware of what he's talking about, how they think that China thinks that they can do this. He's right. That's what China is trying to do. But what was the percentage Biden put on tariffs for those cars? Like, what was the consequences?
It was 100%.
100%. So he's saying 200%.
200. So he's just I'll double it.
Yeah.
Like
I said it would be 200. He only did 100.
It's very shallow.
It literally doesn't matter. 100 is already a death blow. I'm going to do the double death blow. You got to double tap them. Make sure they're down. That's the number one rule. Actually, rule number one is cardio. I don't know what that is.
They're building massive factories, more than two, and they're going to kill Detroit. And the head of the union, the United Auto Workers in Detroit, has done a terrible.
He's always been incoherent, Vosh. You know that? No, I disagree. I think he's gotten substantially worse, and I think the reason why we haven't really paid much attention to it is because we've gotten used to how bad he is.
This is like some of the most coherent shit I've heard from him. Yeah. Like, just because you don't follow Trump and know his policies doesn't mean that he's incoherent here.
What do you mean? Of course, that's what it means.
Like,
it's like that fucking idiot where we're trying to tell that the F-16 is literally stole. Like, they literally stole the technology to make the Chinese plane.
You'll notice those
He's still arguing that I'm wrong.
You notice how they stop responding to me whenever I challenge them because I use the psychology on them?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're terrible at it. You just keep them spouting their propaganda and spreading it. That's what they want. They want to tie you up. But me, I'm just like, why do you hate China? Why can't China do this? Are you saying China's not good enough to do this? Always do that. Always come at them with what China's not allowed to pursue. Like, they're not allowed to buy their own tech. They can't use their capital to leverage weapons manufacturing with a country like Israel. How much has the U.S. and Israel co-developed together?
Exactly. I'm just like I've got nothing to say to you. I just laugh.
Do you think the U.S. hasn't bought fucking stolen planes? What do you think they fucking train on?
Yeah, it's very funny. Like,
they literally, the U.S. makes it, like, can make its own style of Russian fighter as trainers. Oh, speaking of which, I want to check this real quick. Is it SR-72?
SR-71. And then this guy brings up the J-16 as well. I'm like, the J-16, you mean the Sukhoi Su-27? Because I'm just fucking with him. Because I think under the original post, I was like, here's all the other cars that China has stolen designs from. Like, it's not a notorious
We write it off. It's like, oh, yeah, of course, he's always been crazy. And yeah, obviously, even since 2016, he said ridiculous stuff. But a lot of the ridiculous stuff he said didn't demonstrate mental incompetence. They demonstrated buffoonery. That's very different.
Terrible job. Just a terrible job. But we're going to bring tremendous growth back. And remember, we're also taking in a certain percentage. I won't name the percentage today, but it'll be a certain tariff percentage, which will be higher than people had heard in the past. And we will be bringing in
Dude, he's going to win, and he's going to implement a flat 20% tariff on all imported goods, and the economy is going to spiral in 3 days. You guys need to, if he wins, I hope you motherfuckers are stocking up on canned beans, because he's going to and make sure they're American canned beans too, so that you get used to the flavor of the local brand, because you ain't going to be able to afford the foreign import beans.
Billions and billions of dollars, which will
Billions and billions.
directly reduce our deficits. Okay, thank you very much. Good job you've done, by the way.
Good job. This one's even worse. Okay, really try to follow.
Okay, no.
This one along. It's so bad that the Kamala HQ
seriously though,
account.
hang on, stop. Did you follow along with what he said?
No, I got distracted.
Exactly. That's the thing, is when Trump talks about this type of shit, he's so boring.
He's very boring.
Close your other tab.
I don't like listening to Trump.
Close your other tab. Anyway, what I was gonna say is that there's like more mounting evidence that like we already like basically knew the SR-72 Dark Star from Top Gun is real.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
So like there's more evidence mounting forward that like it's totally in production.
Cool.
And because like the project is like not necessarily acknowledged.
No,
right?
I mean, but there's always like dark money being shifted in places in the budget anyway.
But
so of course it's
the
done
Lockheed
that
said a
kind of
while
shit.
ago that it was supposed to be able to fly by 2025.
That's
So-
exciting.
So there's been some stuff in recent stuff where there's been kind of like hints in certain like documents. I can't find the exact thing because like obviously we've known it's been real. It's just more stuff implying that it's been real. But like I was like looking at it and the other day I have to check again what the speed is on this motherfucker. Do you remember what the speed is? No? Yes? How fast does fucker go? Oh, you're muted. I think.
I don't know much about the Dark Star. I think it's like 7, isn't it? Like 7? Is it? It's autonomous.
It can be.
Okay.
It can. So it's Mach 6.
Crazy.
So like the Blackbird I think was Mach 3.
4 almost.
So and also I guess it's gonna have hypersonic missiles in it as well.
Damn.
And apparently that it might, they're also developing commercial contracts with it where it can be like a CEO type plane.
I hate that.
Right?
I hate that.
Right?
Blow them out of the sky.
Okay, now close your tabs. We got to focus on this next question. Anyway, that last one made total sense to me. He was saying that basically that the tariffs, the countries aren't going to not trade with the United States is what he said, right? But the thing is that the tariffs are paid by the people, not those countries anyway. So the cost comes from us. The policy's still stupid. But what he wants people to think is that the trade war and how tariffs work is these countries have to pay more to work and to manufacture and ship things to this country, right? So because those countries are going to have to pay more because they're not going to miss out on working with the United States, that it's going to catapult the economy forward, is what he's saying.
Theory.
I mean, that's what the answer to the question was. It made perfect sense to me what he said.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take your word for it. I mean,
okay. This
Trump
next
is
you better
Trump is.
You better pay attention to this next.
I'm just like, sure. I mean, sure. I think Trump doesn't know what he's fucking talking about. I think he has a vague idea and he kind of rambles about.
Yeah. That's the thing is that he only needs to present fucking vague. He's a big picture guy.
Big picture.
Right?
But it's such a great way to describe him. He's like, I don't care about the details. You figure it out. I want this.
Yeah.
Fucking dipshit.
Is running with it.
If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Okay.
Well, I would
pause,
do that,
pause.
and we're sitting down, you know.
Now, okay. So out the gate here, childcare is not a policy that's been discussed by Donald Trump, right? So now this is a curveball that she just threw him.
Yes.
He's thinking now this is where he's gonna fuck up a lot more. He's gonna be way more vague and like be like, well, I got this policy that I just told you about, and you know, this thing, and then the money and the line goes up.
I was somebody, we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, that because look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us.
I think it's even funnier that he's trying to explain his economic plan that he doesn't understand to
Yeah.
economists.
So
like
all
people
he
in an
said is
economic club.
yeah, you got to have childcare. I know, all about raising kids. I have kids. My daughter Ivanka, the only kid I acknowledge. and that dynamo of entertainment and excitement, Jared Kushner.
But
That's the only kids he
a
has.
very substantial
Kushner,
tax
all
when
of
they
this
send
must
product
have a
into our
cost.
country.
He said it never
Those
happened.
numbers
He
are so
said
much
the
bigger than
Holocaust
any
never
numbers that
happened.
we're talking
Thank
about,
you,
including
Jared
child
So
Kushner.
he
care.
said
That it's going to take care. We're going to have
his answer is childcare doesn't matter because my tax is going to be so good, the number is going to be big, and everyone's going to be
Yeah,
rich.
big number make worries go away.
Yes.
You watch, trust.
I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are going on in our country.
Oh my God.
Because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are.
We're a little more than halfway through. Are we all following along? We're all
Yes.
trying to. You're not just letting
Yes.
this bleed into nothing, right?
Yes, I'm following
It's not
along.
normal for a presidential candidate to talk in a way that makes
Look,
it easy
we
for it
can
to just fade
translate
into
if we can
yapping
translate
noise.
what Joe Biden is saying
That's
so
true.
easily, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like that debate was a disaster. We had to translate everything Biden had to
Literally
say.
everything, yeah. It really was everything, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. And we even missed stuff like we beat Medicare.
Yes, yeah, we did. That was a big one that we missed, actually.
Small relative to the kind of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth, but growth also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. We're going to be taking in trillions of dollars, and as much as childcare is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kind of numbers we'll be taking in. We're going to make this into
He really just said
an
the same thing
incredible.
3 times in a row.
Yes,
That's
he,
it.
yes.
And each time he simplified and consolidated what he was trying to say even more. And the beginning where he's talking about Ivanka and gotta have childcare, that was him stalling because it was a curveball. The thing
you
is,
think he was trying to develop his
so
argument?
you have the passive and active brain, right?
Mhm.
So like if you're reading something while like talking or
Yeah.
somebody's talking to you while you're trying to type, you'll end up typing what they're saying instead of what
Yes,
you're thinking.
I do that
You know
all
what
the
I'm
time,
saying?
yes,
All the
yes.
time, right?
Uh-huh.
So he can't actually use his active brain to like make a coherent sentence because he's stalling. He's just making his mouth move while his brain works on how do I talk? Okay, I'll just go back to talking about whatever you were before. He's like, the thing I just told you about.
Yeah. I mean that is a fair analysis. I think Vosh is kind of onto it though. I think he's losing it. I think he's genuinely degrading and quickly. I don't think he's quite lost it yet. You know how
I think
Biden
he's
kind of
older,
rambles and then
not-
comes back to it?
Yeah, but Trump rambles, but he stays on it. But it's still just rambling.
Mm.
Like Biden doesn't make sense with half the shit he says. We just know what he's trying to say. Just because Trump's
Yeah.
policy is fucking stupid and it won't work like this doesn't mean we don't understand what he's trying to say. It doesn't
True.
matter to him. He just needs a fucking and this is what's so funny is because this whole debate prep strategy that we'll get a lot more into later, like it's like they're trying to like his whole team is like shut the fuck up and just focus on policy. Everyone, Megyn Kelly, Tulsi Gabbard, Nikki Haley, not Tulsi, but Nikki Haley, and then McCarthy, like a bunch of these people have just been like, bro, just focus on policy. And that's when he was whining, she's attacking me, but they say I can't attack her. Remember that? So the thing is, Kamala just needs to get enough under his skin that he starts being incoherent like this, where he's too mad and thinking about what he wants to say to her angrily that he can't spit out his dumb policy points.
And he just says stupid shit. He trips over himself. It's a good plan.
But the thing is that his policies are so simple and stupid. He just needs to say big number grow.
True.
And people understand what he's talking about. I hope they're as critical on him as they were on Joe Biden, too.
A country that can afford to take care of its people, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world. Let's help other people. But we're going to take care of our country first. This is about America first. It's about make America great again. We have to do it because right now we're a failing nation. So we'll take care of it. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. You get applause for that.
It made sense to me.
Failing nation.
But today was also about Donald Trump's economic speech, and we watched a lot of it. And I would dare any of you to listen to his answer on childcare and tell me what the hell he was talking about.
Can I try to read it on this question?
The childcare one is an easy target, in my opinion.
Yeah, because he doesn't have a policy for that and just stalled. But we've seen this all the time in like presidential debates and stuff where they just stall on a question they don't want to answer.
Yeah, they'll stall out the time more or less.
Yeah, they'll stall it out and then go back to their fucking classic what they were because this was a thing for economy. So everything he said, he was just going to keep repeating the same thing about big number grow because tax good.
Yeah.
On childcare. By the way, in case you're wondering what the Republicans' actual positions were, J.D. Vance was asked about. Can I get that clip? J.D. Vance was asked about what
now you want to see incoherent
they would do to lower childcare costs, and his answer was, "Well, get your grandparents or aunts or uncles to do it." His answer was literally like, "The solution to the childcare crisis is have your family members do it for free."
Wow, nobody ever thought of that one, JD.
Let me try to read the transcript from Donald Trump's question or the answer that he had to the childcare question. Okay, let me see. Maybe it'll sound different when I say
Kamala
it because you're not used to me yapping in that particular fashion.
Now watch how incoherent it sounds when he reads this.
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. We had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kinds of numbers that I'm talking about, because look, childcare is childcare. There's something you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it. But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly, and it's not going to stop them from doing business with us. But they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all the other things that are going on in our country, because I have to stay with childcare. I want to stay with childcare, but those numbers are small relative to the kinds of economic numbers that I'm talking about, including growth. But growth is also headed up by what the plan is that I just told you about. we're going to be taking in trillions of dollars. And as much as childcare is talked about as being expensive,
Trillions
it's
and trillions.
relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kinds of numbers that we'll be taking in. We're going to make this into an incredible country that can afford to take care of its people, and then we'll worry about the rest of the world. Let's help other people, but we're going to take care of our country first. This is about America first. It's about make America great again. We have to do it now because we're a failing nation, so we'll take care of it. Thank you. Very good question. Thank you. That was the whole thing. Did that sound better when I did it? Did that sound more or less coherent? Did it sound the same amount of coherent? Was there a change in... It was actually more coherent. And maybe like I'm younger than he is. I'm not slurring my words quite as much, though I do still do that plenty. I don't know. It's crazy, genuinely. She said Chris Hayes had a segment on this, Annie. This is the Vance grandparent clip.
Working family, and it's very hard for working families to get by. How will we lower the cost of daycare?
You know, such an important question, Charlie. And I think
Vance
one of
got
the
the
things
same
that we
question?
can do is make it easier for family models to choose, or for families to choose whatever model they want, right? So one of the ways...
I agree he's sundowning, but I think it's clear what he was saying. I mean, what he was saying was we're going to make money from tariffs, so that's how we'll pay for
Who's the New
childcare.
York
But that's not an
libertarian?
answer to
Larry
the question.
Elder?
The question
Larry
was how
Elder
will...
has a better answer to this.
That's embarrassing.
I think that's his name, right? That's the libertarian guy.
The black guy?
Sharp, Larry Sharp. Yes, Larry Sharp.
Oh,
So
okay.
like Larry Sharp he's literally a similar policy to what JD is about to say, but it's more developed. Basically, when you hear it, you're like, yeah, that's not a good policy, Larry. It's basically like making churches allowed to also do daycares. Yes, let the priests watch the kids, Larry.
Yeah, that's a bad idea.
Yeah, no shit.
You expand childcare, not are you going to make money bigly?
that you might be able to relieve a little bit of pressure on people who are paying so much for daycare is make it so that you know, maybe like grandma or grandpa wants to help out a little bit more, or maybe there's an aunt or uncle that wants to help out a little bit more. If that happens,
that's a great policy proposal, man. Thank you. Thank you.
You relieve some of the pressure on all the resources that we're spending in daycare. Now,
that's what we're trying to do, relieve pressure of the resources we're spending on daycare. We're trying to like lower the amount we're relying on daycare. That's what we need to do. This guy hears about like the daycare crisis, and his thought is like, oh yeah, of course we need to use it less. It's too accessible right now.
Talk about just daycare. Let's say you don't have somebody.
Again, it's going to be a nail biter of an election when these guys are so obviously evil and incompetent. Like any parent in the country, child care costs are like a serious issue. And then you've got tens of millions of Americans who are going to vote for this when these guys, they're not just like attacking immigrants or whatever. I don't think being a fascist is necessarily like an electoral handicap. Lots of people are fascists and easily motivated by fear. But these guys aren't just fascists. They're stupid, and they openly oppose things that everyone relies on. No one is anti-child care, not like a meaningful demographic of the electorate, not in like a direct way. Like you get weirdo incels online or like austerity freaks or libertarians, I guess. But for the most part, not really.
Who can provide that extra set of hands. What we've got to do is actually empower people to get trained in the skills that they need for the 21st century. We've got a lot of people who love kids, who would love to take care of kids, but they can't, either because they don't have access to the education that they need, or maybe more importantly, because the state government says you're not allowed to take care of children unless you have some ridiculous certification that has nothing to do.
This is the anti-grooming party, by the way. That's the two policy proposals, okay? Get your grandparents to help, and also let Doug, with Doug's Children Play Center, you know, he runs it out of his backyard. Let him take care of your kids.
Nothing to do with taking care of kids. So empower people to get the skills they need. Don't force every early child care specialist to go and get a 6-year college degree where they've got a whole lot of...
I don't think that's a thing. I'm pretty sure you don't need a master's degree to run a daycare. I don't think that's true. What the f is he even talking about? He's suggesting that deregulating the childcare industry is the way to make it less expensive, which is like an incomprehensibly psychotic attitude to have. Can you imagine being a mother and hearing this? Like, oh yeah, we're barely able to keep afloat because of childcare costs. That's what we need. We need to lower the standards of childcare. That's great, man.
Of debt, and Americans are much poorer because they're paying out the wazoo for daycare. Empower working families, empower people who want to do these things for a living, and that's what we got to do.
I mean, it's ideologically consistent, right? Replace literally every system that makes people's lives better with more like deregulate, you know, more bootstraps rhetoric, more, oh, well, maybe you wouldn't be paying as much if we lowered the standards. I know corporations are experiencing like record windfall profits, but why would we engage in any policy that translates that incredible wealth into betterment for the average person? Oh, I know we pretend to be economically populist when we talk about giving power back to the working class. We actually hate you in like the most obvious way possible.
Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. We've got some breaking news tonight, an exclusive
Did Chris Hayes always look this much like he's currently suffering from an allergy attack? Does he always look this much like that's the case? I feel like it's been a little while since I've seen him. Yeah? Okay.
in scoop. It's this. Donald Trump is 78 years old. Did you know that? If elected, he will be the oldest person to ever be sworn in as president of the United States. He is a man that is suffering from, I think, pretty obvious mental decline. But in contrast to the breathless coverage of Joe Biden's age and fitness, which again made a certain amount of sense prior to his dropping out of the presidential race, we are not seeing nearly as much discussion about Trump's diminished mental acuity.
That's true. I do genuinely think it's media malpractice, 100%. And I also do think that Joe Biden is more mentally present than Donald Trump. I just think that Joe Biden is much more like visibly and audibly old. You know, he comes across more old. But when he gets his shit together and talks, for the most part, he sounds like he's making sense. Trump never does. Ever.
No.
When was the last time you read an article wondering if Trump was mentally fit to be president?
Like, just because the policy is stupid and wouldn't work doesn't mean that what he was saying didn't make sense. He was saying, here's my dumbass policy that's not going to work.
Yeah, this is my dumb policy. What do you want from me?
The Republicans have never ran on what they're actually going to do.
No. I'm moving on.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman in New York.
I was like, how? These are not
Gonzalez.
Are you aware of a CIA psychological profile about you, sir? Would you be interested in hearing what the CIA had to say? This secret study portrays as a brilliant but dangerous megalomaniac who is likely to pursue his own aims in disregard of U.S. interests. He's an uncertain ally. Shall I go on, or would you prefer that I stop, sir?